There's never been an episode on Vault like this one. As I turn the spotlight on the author of Collector Spotlight, you will see the light literally reflect off of her. And I'm telling you, you need to stick around to hear every single word that comes from her mouth. Enjoy. Good morning, Hillary. Welcome to CAA. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. How about you?
I am thrilled to finally meet you. You are like this mythical being in the community, Hillary, that hides behind a pen. You don't actually hide. I've just never actually seen you. So I've been extremely hyped to have this conversation and have you on. So thank you sincerely for being here.
Thank you.
So you being a special person in this PiggyBanx community, and I love your little setup behind you. Tell everyone who you are in case they don't know, which I would find hard to believe.
Sure. I'm Hillary Hunter. I live in Southern California, so I have been blessed to live close to a number of collectors. I grew up in Long Island, though, so I have a little bit of a New York spirit. Longtime Islanders fan.
Nice.
And
we just had Farik on. Farik is a Ranger fan. Now you're not. Do you hate the Rangers?
You know, probably if I lived in New York still, I might, but I've moved away from hatred of other teams.
That's fair. I'm not trying to make enemies on the show and drive a wedge between you and Farik.
As soon as this is over.
So you have done a lot in the community, and we'll get there in a minute, but how long have you been part of the PiggyBanx world? Because from my vantage point, not knowing much about anything, I would have guessed you've been here a decade. How long have you been involved?
Well, not 10 years, but probably more like 10 months.
Okay.
But, you know, I see this about a lot of things in my life, but sometimes, you know, they feel like both a lifetime and only a breath. So sure. That's definitely how I feel about this community. And it obviously is the art, but for me, the art alone would have been fascinating and I probably would own some pieces, but the community is what makes it so exciting to get to talk about the art, to get to meet people, etc.
So what happened 10 months ago that even it came on your radar?
Well, perhaps I can start a little bit before that.
Please.
So I've been going to One Lucky Piggy's restaurant since the first Sunday they opened. So they had Sunday brunch back in those days. And of course, he wasn't any One Lucky Piggy. He was just Jason.
Sure.
And me and my girlfriends, fell in love with the restaurant, fell in love with the food, fell in love with the vibe. And then my husband, boyfriend at the time, we started going a lot, had a great time, but went to the restaurant like a normal person would go to a restaurant, once every month or 6 weeks or whatever. But then there was that global pandemic.
Sure.
You hear about that?
Yeah, that little one. Yep.
And so we all were sort of trapped. And One Lucky Piggy started doing these Instagram lives. And every morning at 10:30, he would talk about what he was cooking, what the restaurant was doing. And a real community was formed, not so dissimilar to the PiggyBanx community. And it was an incredible blessing for so many of us, this chance to kind of make friends. A lot of them, we were like, oh yeah, I think I sat at the bar once with you, or, but
sure.
Didn't really know each other. And now, a few of them who I think I'll talk about, and I'll make sure I do if you don't bring them up. But the Cheese Stands Alone is one of my closest friends. And I don't know if we would even know each other if it wasn't for that time.
Sure.
So then more to that story, which maybe we'll get to, but then restaurants started opening and, well, maybe I want to back up a little bit. So I stopped working so my husband had metastatic cancer and I stopped working in 2020 to spend time with him. Had an amazing job, had been there for 20 years, loved it, but, it was a good time. He was well, but he was diagnosed in 2014. So it was a lot of years of battling. I think at that time he'd been on 6 clinical trials. And so I stopped and we spent a ton of time together. And then there was the pandemic, which I felt like was very synchronous because nobody was really doing anything. So it allowed us to not really do anything without being weird. And then the Instagram lives, so I really found like I had a community, and we were picking up food from, it was called Playground at the time. Then when they opened, we started going way more regularly. I said in the beginning that we went like a normal person would go to a restaurant, but all of a sudden, once they opened again, if I didn't get in once a week, I was like starting to itch.
Sure.
And Tom was my husband, and he was well enough, so he joined in many of the reindeer games, and it was great. And there, the staff there also created a community. And as Tom got more ill, there was a warmth. It was like a hug when I came in. So then, another story for someone else to tell. Playground became detention. Detention went through some changes, and then it was detention 2.0. And Tom, at this point, had gotten quite sick. And I was doing a lot of caregiving. So this amazing place that had only been so good to us for so long, like, became this incredible refuge for me. And probably still Jason at the time to me. He like really created an environment where I could come in, I could bring my own bottle of wine, I could bring my book and have a couple snacks, maybe have an entire meal. Lots of times I went in for 15 minutes just because that's all I had. But if Tom was feeling well, maybe I had 2 hours. So I just sit there reading my book, and not once did someone say, hey, we could use that seat. And I kind of had a seat that I sat, and if I was coming, it was usually available for me. So eventually, or even pretty quickly, when One Lucky got involved with PiggyBanx, she started telling me about it, and I was excited. But I didn't, I stopped working. So maybe that was 24 and maybe even 23, but let's say 24. I'd stopped working 4 years ago. So I was like, that's awesome. But who spends $750 on, this small thing?
Yeah.
But I started to, I guess is the story. And he started to get more excited. And I think, just kind of a cool story. And I'm sorry if I'm supposed to breathe more and not talk so much.
No. Bring it all, Hillary.
So over time, I actually changed my seat, and I started sitting at this little wine barrel that kind of overlooked the lounge. And for a few months, there was this group of guys. When I was in, they'd be in too. So we became, friends, where we'd go like this. And then that was maybe in October of 24. No, 3. And actually, I don't know. But
fair.
that
some year.
Yes, exactly. And some month.
Yep.
But I was always by myself reading my book. And that was kind of what I loved about that place. Like my friends and I would go out, and I think it's also important to add that Tom had passed away. So
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But so my plus one wasn't part of my story. And again, I still needed that refuge. And also important to add, Jason has 2 restaurants, and the team at that other restaurant at the time, Justin, Trisha, and Kyle, he's a gourd master and Unstoppable Sandwich. He was a big part of all of that restaurant vibe was a part of my recovery. So I'm sitting there and I'm seeing this group of a group of men, but who are so funny and so in love with each other. And like, there's all these hugs and all these laughs, and they're giving me so much joy. Like I'm leaving that restaurant all the time, just happy, like that they were there, but I didn't even know them. But one day, I don't know why he hadn't told me earlier, but Jason's like, hey, that's Brad. And I'm like, oh no, I had no idea. So, Christmas comes along, and I don't know if Brad remembers it exactly this way, but I'm there with my whole family, or a bunch of my family. So maybe there's 10 of us, and we're just having drinks. And Brad says to Jason, hey, that's that woman who always comes alone. It's nice to see her with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So of course I'm in love, right? Like, how cool is that to notice that and to have that kindness? So I went over, I said hi. And that was end of December, and I bought my first piece January 15th. Because kindness will win me every time.
Of course, of course. And so you have a deep love of food, by the way. So I have to ask, I mean, how good is the food at Detention 2.0? I mean, Jason told me he's a great cook, but I can't take his word for it.
Did he mention that?
You might have.
Well, Jason's an incredible cook. He really is. Like, he just understands flavor profiles. The food at Detention is amazing. The food at 2.0 next door is amazing. It really is next level. But again, it's maybe this is just a theme here. It was the food, but it was the food plus. At 2.0, at Detention 2.0, Jason sat at every table and hung out and talked to you. So he wasn't actually in the kitchen at this time, but all of the members got to spend time with him, got to hear about PiggyBanx and got to hear about pickleball and got to share their story. So it really, everything was dinner and a show.
Understood. Now, that shouldn't be taken lightly because if I'm not mistaken, you're a former director of customer experience. Is that true, Hillary?
Yes.
Right. So you know a thing or two about customer experience. So for you to give praise in this area to atmosphere and you called it the plus, right? Plus, that's
Yes.
high praise coming from you.
It is, it's almost unimaginable. And it's certainly, well, maybe not, but I can't imagine how it's recreatable. It was the moment, it was the people, it was Jason. Yeah, I feel like, and I will say it to my friends and family, I stepped in magic mushrooms.
That's fantastic. So you meet Brad in some month of some year, and then around the holidays, you share a couple words. You buy your first piece in January. And what is that first piece?
That's Losing Lois. So Losing Lois. So I know nothing, right? But it's Black Label snakeskin. So I read their website, of course. That's my job. And I'm like, Black Label, I'm in charge of the world. And, one thing about Jason with me, so I immediately show it to him. And, he's like, beautiful, happy for you. And over time, I've since learned the little, old snakeskin isn't the most coveted. But I'll tell you, maybe my eye isn't as sophisticated, but I freaking love it.
What drew you to it? Was it just that you had the first piece that comes along after your conversation with Brad, or is it something unique to that piece?
Yeah, that's a fair question. It definitely, I can't recall if it was the first, but it certainly was one of. And really, it was my lack of understanding of the depth and breadth of the offerings.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I was a little bit like, here's a chance.
Here it is.
Oh my gosh, a chance,
Seize the moment.
Right, and Superman, who doesn't love a Superman? And we'll talk about another piece that really has a lot of meaning to me, but the whole idea of loss and the sort of amusement in his horror, I'm very comfortable juxtaposing, heartbreak and joy.
Understood. Your vocabulary, by the way, Hillary, I should have brought the dictionary out with me today to make it through this interview. This could be a challenging hour for me to make it through. You speak so eloquently. Have people told you that before? Maybe.
Maybe in the at the end of that job that you called director of customer experience, which I was, but for 18 or 19 of those years, I was the director of training and employee development. So we did a lot of writing and a lot of speaking.
You teach people how to speak?
I was in sales for a while, so I sold software to fire departments. So I was often in front of mayors and department chiefs. So I taught myself, and my mom might come up in this interview. My mom had high standards for both our writing and our speaking.
It's funny, Hillary, because I feel extremely incompetent and ignorant when speaking to you. It's all relative, right? But my mother was an English teacher and a talented and gifted teacher back in the day. And I remember vividly, it was third grade. I think that's as far back as my memory goes. Third grade, I got off the bus. It was in a military family, right? So it was on base where you could just walk home from the bus and there was no concern. So I'd walk home. Right. And then I always wanted to go out front and shoot hoops. We had a basketball hoop and I wanted to go play basketball. And my mother had this marble composition notebook, right? I mean, they're still out there today, right?
Yeah.
And she would put it in front of me. And I remember vividly, third grade, she was teaching me prepositional phrases. And she's like, don't end a sentence with a preposition. Here are prepositional phrases. And I was going through, I didn't learn officially prepositional phrases in school until I think I was a sophomore in high school. And my teacher's like, has anyone heard of prepositional phrase? I'm like, third grade. Right? Now, I'm guilty because I still end sentences with a preposition. I speak incorrectly all the time because I'm not as eloquent as you. But I have a deep appreciation when I hear precise language and grammar. And Hillary, just the first, I don't know how deep we are, 4 or 5 minutes. It's like, I just want to listen to you. I just want to sit back and close my eyes and listen to you speak. And what's funny is I've read your written word, which is mind blowing. Okay. It is stunningly, see, you're going to make me trip on by my words because I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm nervous around you, Hillary, but the perfection and the sentiment and the feeling and the depth of your writing is so sincerely brilliant. It just gets me. But most writers, I'm not going to say most, some writers I've met in my life also don't speak that eloquently. They hide behind the pen, right? It comes out of here and not here the same. You are this unicorn of a human, Hillary, that somehow can make your fingers express word as brilliantly as your tongue in your mouth. How do you do it? Can you help me?
Well, thank you, first of all. And, we all probably have some imposter syndrome. The internet obviously helps. I have to admit, my first few, I did send to my mom to go through with her red pen.
That's great.
But it's funny now. Her feedback now is always like, "Why do you have a comma there?" Because I feel it.
I feel like I want to pause right there.
Right, exactly. Well, and even the whole thing with can't end a sentence with the preposition. I think that wisdom has changed.
It's outdated a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So feel free to do it. But I think that's really it. The people who I highlight, they spend so much time answering my questions. It's all written, but they're so thoughtful. And, I feel an obligation. I think we talked about this with you too. Like, I feel an obligation to not just be like, this person's so fun and this person has great sets. And there's so many things that do that, right? Like the Discord and Instagram, like we highlight so much about the art. That's amazing. So I just am excited about the opportunity to say these people and the art are also amazing.
I love it, Hillary. And somebody asked me early on, they said, Kurt, did you see Hillary had put out this collector spotlight? I said, of course I did. It's amazing. And they said, I don't know who it was, but they're like, well, you have this podcast. I was like, and like, this is amazing. Everybody should spread the love and awareness. And what's interesting is there's probably 23 people to date that have said, Kurt, I'm shy and I don't want to be on the podcast, right? I am so passionate about the community. I love what you're doing. I'll support you in any way. I'll send you pictures. I'll send you, right, if you want to highlight my stuff, but I just personally am shy. And you are providing a medium for these individuals to express themselves that I can't get to, right? I can't reach that. And Hillary, it's what you're doing is so fantastic. And I just want to go on the record saying that I have such a deep and sincere appreciation for you and what you've done to highlight the person, like you said, and not just the art. I always say I'm here to spread love and awareness, and I never finish the sentence. And you finish the sentence perfectly, right? It's like, it's not just of the art. It's of the art, and it's of the person, and it's of their journey, and it's of all these things, right? It's great. Man, it's beautiful.
And I think obviously the art is so incredible. So by himself or all by the studio self, they will have success. Like they don't need us.
For sure.
But everybody needs a home, even if it's their second or third. And I'm really hopeful that all the work that we're doing, the official Discord, the unofficial Discord, the Take It to the Banks podcast. And I know there's even others that I don't know about.
Sure.
I'm hoping people are finding these homes, and then I don't know why it's even important to me that the studio grows, but like I'm invested, I don't even mean financially. I mean, emotionally.
So why are you invested? What is your favorite part of the PiggyBanx community? Because I have a feeling we're only going to say it about 472 more times in this interview about community,
People.
community. But what is your favorite part of the community? Can you put your finger on it?
Well, I actually was thinking about that. I'm loving so much the learning. So I never have been on Discord,
Yeah.
I was on Instagram, but like here's a picture of me and Tom. Here's a picture of me and Tom eating food. Here's a picture of me and Tom and my parents eating food.
Right.
So I'm loving. Like even I created a chat. I created the Collector Spotlight channel in Discord. I'm not acting like it was hard at all, but I had no idea how to do it. So I had to go research and even the writing, I wrote a lot back in the day, but I'm super good. And I don't know if you would get this, but I am so super good at like watching Netflix for many hours in a row.
Okay.
Who knew how good I'd be at that? But, obviously it's not a lifestyle. So I love it. Like the fact that I said it could take me 3 or 4 hours, and some of them write themselves. The Spotlight's really, there's a lot of beautiful writers and beautiful thinkers in the community. So it might just take an hour and a half or 2 hours. But I love that time I'm working on it, and I never am like, oh, shoot, I got to go do that. I'm like, oh, good, I got to go do that.
So you need to explain something to me. Help me, Hillary, right? So since third grade, at least, I've acknowledged that I had after school study hour or 12 with my mother to try to advance my tiny brain and try to form complete sentences. I don't know where it got me. I'd like to think that I'm decent grammatically, and maybe not.
Well, you got a couple of diplomas behind you.
They're just fake. They're all just fabricated. But speaking of degrees, Hillary, explain this journey to me. How does one get a bachelor's in anthropology and then go instructional design technology, master's, if I'm not mistaken, and end up as eloquent as you? Because you would assume that there's some path in there with English or, I don't know, something. How did it happen?
Funny. So anthropology. So I went to UC Irvine as a computer science major, but super quickly, like day one, really, I was like, oh, I'm not smart enough for this, and or willing to work hard enough, or whatever those things are. Plus, like, I really thought college was about like partying and friends.
Okay.
And
sure.
So it didn't click.
That's a part of it.
Right, exactly. Especially like my freshman year, like, I was 17, I think maybe if I was a little bit older or a little bit more mature or a little bit whatever, maybe I would have continued down that path. Obviously it would have been lucrative or potentially lucrative.
Sure.
So I just was sort of taking classes, crossing my fingers saying, hopefully something interests me because my parents are going to kill me. And I was in an anthropology lecture, and the professor was talking about creation myths.
Okay.
And he was saying, some funny myths that people have had over the years. And the class is laughing, and we're having a lot of fun. And he was super dynamic. And then he says, I'm 18, maybe not at this time, and I'm like, I'm questioning everything, right? And he says, you guys think that's funny. There's some group of people that think their God created the world in 7 days. And I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting.
It's a direct shot. Yeah.
Right. I loved that. I was like, all right. Like, I think even at the time I wasn't certain of my faith path,
sure.
But I was certain that I liked questioning things.
Okay, yeah.
So literally, that was it. Like I went up to him and I said, "I want to be an anthropology major." He was like, "Great."
You sold me, right? I'm in.
Yes, and it was just a ticket. It wasn't like right.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe it's just the profiler in me, Hillary. But I have to say, I feel like that has contributed to your journey, right? The study of humanity and social
Sure.
sciences. And then you get into, like you said, employee development and customer engagement. Like you are as well-rounded of an individual with such a diverse, if not unexplainable background that has spit out Hillary in your current form. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I love
Thank
it.
you. And those years of selling that software really forced me as well to hone my speaking skills and my writing skills.
So you have a number of pieces behind you. You talked about one. What are some of your favorites? And I remember before we got on, you said, Kurt, I'm not like some of these people. I don't have the encyclopedia of knowledge like One Lucky Piggy on the history of every PiggyBanx piece ever created. And nor is my collection as maybe wide or varied as others. But your collection's bigger than mine. Can I go on the record saying that, Hillary?
Yeah, thank you.
It's bigger than mine, and tell us about it a little bit.
Well, maybe, because I'm in Southern California, my fellow collectors have a more robust collection.
That's fair. That's fair.
So two pieces I want to point out in, Tom. So two things I want to say about Tom first. Tom is part of my story, and he's my favorite part of my story. Like I could talk about Tom all day, but I could also talk about cancer and the cancer journey. And he was a beast. He was a warrior, and he kicked ass. So it's like the story. You can't take away the horror of his death, but the story was so filled with like love and successes and, amazing, incredible doctors and again, community. But the pieces I love the most are related to him. And I think everything, I've been saying this a little bit in my life, everything's seasonal. And I look forward to loving pieces for other reasons as well. But at this moment, that's why I love them. So one, of course, is, well, maybe not of course, but is my wizard's chess.
Great piece.
Thank you. And, super honored to be nominated for that. And when Tom, we used to, like when we first started dating, we would read to each other. We'd get these books of short stories and, instead of watching another show, before we went to bed, we'd just read a little bit. And I'm certainly not implying like that was years of our life, reading intimately by the fire, but we did it. Yeah. And then when he got sick, we watched a ton. And, like I said, he was sick for a lot of years, but the last 2 years were tough and the last year were very hard on him. So we watched a ton of Maine Cabin Masters. Shout out to Maine Cabin Masters. Okay. Yeah. But that was kind of his attention span. Yeah. And, so one day I said, well, how about I read Harry Potter? And of course I had every book and I had read them myself many times and maybe even he had read them. I'm not sure. We certainly watched the movies, but I just started reading them to him. And like, it was just this incredibly intimate, incredibly kind. Like we would often hold hands and just sit and read. And I loved it. And there were times even that he'd be like, hey, I'll read a couple pages. And I'd be like, of course. And I feel very grateful for that time, and this piece obviously has so much meaning.
Hillary, it's beautiful. Have you talked to Liz Collects?
Yeah. Well, we did about this piece. I'm trying to think, but I know she has that with her dad.
The stories are eerily similar and touching in such a similar way. Amazing that piece has that commonality across the community, right?
Agreed.
Man,
yeah, and fantastic. That art, in that art, right, of the Harry Potter stories, which is, it's not super complicated, sure. But it affects everybody is impacted and inspired by it.
Isn't that the best, though? Isn't that the best art?
Totally. So then one other piece. Nice. Thank you. One other piece is my Venom, which to be honest, I know very little about Venom, and what I know I learned from getting the piece. But I've sort of moved a little bit away from this, but I'll tell you, not a ton. Excuse me. The title is Separation Anxiety. And I got this piece, I think this was my second piece. And I was really like, it was interesting when that piece came out. And it was maybe 2 months after my first one. So I don't think I'd gone for everyone in between,
Sure.
mostly because I was trying to figure out how to spend the money. And, but of course I'd heard of separation anxiety, you know, like the term isn't new to me, but I really felt like, oh, that is so much of the thing that I'm feeling. Like I felt like I was given this tool of these words, right? Because as you noted, words matter to me.
Yes.
And like I felt such a burden being lifted. I'm like, okay, I can name this thing I'm feeling. Like, who am I without a plus one? And not just a plus one, my plus one, right? Like
Right.
I have plus ones.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't even know that I have the exact emotion anymore, you know, because it's sort of gone away. But I remember just being like, that is for me. And immediately, as you might imagine, like immediately I got it and people were reaching out to me saying, I'll trade you this, I'll buy it. I had no idea about anything's worth.
Sure.
And I just only recently, I still even feel like if the studio grants me something, I feel very connected to that. Like I don't know if I'm correct even, but for now I view it as an honor and a recognition, an award, even if it's equal, which maybe makes no sense, but I still feel that way. And this piece just, you know, has a ton of meaning to me. And
Let me ask you, Hillary, if the art were different on that piece, if it were a tree and an apple falling from the limb, would you still have got it? Was it the title that hooked you? I assume it's not the art, right?
I don't even know really what the art is.
So it could have been anything.
Yes. But I don't know how we separate, you know, maybe the studio would tell us otherwise, but I'm assuming the art is the thing. It's not like the name and then the art. It's,
sure.
You know?
Yeah, it's the thing. That's,
right.
I mean, I shouldn't be shocked the fact that the words are what drew you in on that piece, but you're the first collector I've ever met that just said, I just got it for the title, which I respect. I wouldn't expect anything less of you. Okay, that's beautiful.
But unlike Wizard's Chess, you know, that I got for the art below that.
Yes, for sure. You could change the title of that one, I'm sure.
That's
anything.
Right. I don't know why they didn't call it Read to Tom. That would have
right?
probably been appropriate.
Come on, PiggyBanx. What else do we have?
Oh, more pieces?
How many pieces do we have? It looks like you have a whole. I mean, I'm 1, 2, 3. My eyes aren't that great.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more ish.
10? Yeah, I think I have 10 total. Well, a couple pieces to talk about. Well, I have the two dinner pieces, which maybe we'll talk about that in and of itself. But you know, sacred.
Now, which one did you get at the second one?
So at the second one, I have, you know, obviously I have, it's the gritty. Can you tell if it's like red or Cody?
White, it's white t-shirt. White t-shirt is, that's Cody, I think, right? I'd have to look it up.
Hi, Cody.
I think it is. One lucky piggy is probably cursing me right now. Like, you don't know off the top of your head who the white shirt is?
Love it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I don't know if you know this, but for the second dinner, he had, I don't even know who the he would be, but I guess the studio had all of the cases just sitting there and you picked one.
Yeah.
And it was super cool, but it was a little bit traumatic as well. Like, you know, you're standing in line and you're like, oh, somebody picked one that I kind of was thinking about maybe. And, then they open it and some like amazing PMG and it should have been mine. And then like, you like go for one, like, no, that one. And it was funny that it actually gave me some anxiety. I was glad when I picked my piece and I didn't even open it. Wait
until you got home?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't blame you. I'm sure it was a big mob scene there of people opening it. It's probably chaos. So tell us about that dinner. How epic was it? Because my wife was like, Kurt, you should have gone. And I agree, I should have gone. I had a lot going on.
Yeah, timing. Well, the first dinner was great. There was 50 of us. It in April, so I'm so brand new. And maybe many of us were really, but and so many people coming over to me, not me in particular, but there's 50 of us who are all kind of saying hi to people.
Yeah.
And like, they're throwing their names at me, and every one of them is a Banks, and everyone, and and I'm like, and like, I really wish that I had like had a notepad or something.
Yeah.
And it was great, but like at 10 o'clock, I was like, it was 5 to 10, but a lot of people stayed later, but I was like, I gotta go home. It's overload.
Yeah.
But it was nice, and I got to say hi to Brad and really kind of see Brad in motion. I saw, like, I didn't count, but it really seemed to me like he greeted everybody. And a couple people said that he said something to them particular to them, like, oh, I'm so glad you were able to get this piece, or just had some knowledge. And I don't know many artists that know the details of their collectors.
Sure.
So I was super impressed. Cool. And that was like a sit down dinner. So it was also a little, so
Okay.
I know that restaurant, right? So I knew it was a little bit hectic for these people I care about a lot to like get the food out for the 50 of us. And so I like, that was also on my mind, was, the people I care about. But the next dinner wasn't sit down, which I think was genius. And part of One Lucky Piggy's, like, he is an incredible cook, but he has a like true understanding of the value of easy.
Sure.
And so like that,
Sure.
when you aren't feeling stressed, the people who are around you aren't feeling stressed.
Absolutely.
So super wise of him. So that dinner, there was, well, first of all, there's like 150 of us, maybe a little bit less. We don't know the studio is going to be there, although I think I did like the last few days, and maybe many of us did, but there was some like rumors around.
Sure.
And yeah. And I knew the guys from the studio were in detention. So, but I'm sure everyone who's watching this has seen videos and pictures of that installation they built, but like nothing
Phenomenal.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, incredible. You would have thought that was their studio.
Yeah, it was incredible and like shocking, because the expectation, even though I knew things were going on, the first time just wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So you only know what you know, so I kind of figured it would be similar. But it was so beautiful. It was so stunningly beautiful. And, many of us like would walk through, and then like 15 minutes later, you'd see the same people kind of back, just staring at different pieces. And we all have connections to different pieces.
Yeah.
Thomas Shelby. We watched Peaky Blinders a lot, many times. And since Tom's death, I've watched it myself many times. So there was that beautiful Shelby piece that I could just live next to.
Yeah. So I have to ask, you're given 20 tickets at the door to drop in the different boxes?
Yeah.
For the drawing? Did you put your raffle tickets in boxes?
I did, of course.
Which ones did you go for?
Most of them were, I think that, I don't know exactly what they called it, but like studio pick.
Oh, right.
So it was a 100%, and, I put studio pick. And, I did the petrifying Moon Mando, but, how could I not? But I was so afraid.
Don't pull my name. That's great.
But yeah, that was fun. And yeah, it's so fun to get a piece. It's like the most fun in the world to get a piece. But I also, like, for me to go to that event, I literally, like, had to call an Uber and get there. That was the extent of my effort. Like, a lot of people did a lot of effort. So all those winners, and I met a lot of people like whose names I didn't even really recognize from the community. So I was super happy about that as well.
So was it the dinner that inspired the collector spotlight? Because it wasn't long after I feel like that came to fruition. Where did the idea come from?
So I don't know that I exactly recall, but early on in my Instagram and Discord days, all of this is 7 minutes ago.
Of course.
I was just trying to be active and, meet people or just learn about the community. But Neo, He started that unofficial Discord, and he reached out to me and asked if I would be a moderator. I said yeah, but kind of like I said to you, but I'm like, but I know nothing and I add no value, and and he's like, all right, well, why don't we give it a shot?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So a ton of gratitude to him. So he's so good about like kind of like gathering us, the moderators. And so right now, Banks Account, who's a rock star, Bizer, who's a rock star. And I think Vinny's in and out, and Neo and me, and just saying, how do we keep engagement? Because like we talked about earlier, the studio is fine without us. But I guess we all believe that there's some real value that we add by creating this community. Yeah. So we talk about it a lot. And I think it was Neo who just said, well, maybe we could do some sort of collector spotlight. And we all were like, cool, like there's no like bad ideas, and it's just not even the vibe when we're chatting. But, and he was like, Hillary should do it. And I was like, I will, but all the buts that one says. And then he just like didn't even respond to any of my buts. And I was like, all right. And then my nature is like, I don't like things hanging over me. So like 3 or 4 days later, he's like, so Hill, you thinking about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've already sent out 2 questionnaires. Like I got one back. So then I just started doing them. But he, like his idea for sure.
I mean, so how did he choose you? Has he seen you write before? Or does he just know that you're just a breath of fresh air, period?
No, I think I think I was just new. And one of the things I said day one, even like maybe before I joined, and the guys would tell you that I say it a lot. I think people need roles, maybe it's just my work environment. But when you sort of say everybody does everything, things get missed. Sure. And also people step on each other's toes. And so I'm often saying we could do this, but whose job is it? Everyone can support. Right. And so I think because, I was mouthing off all the time about people having jobs. He's like, you want a job? You think people need jobs?
I think there might be more to it, Hillary. I mean, props to Neo for picking you. You are so positive. Forget the fact that you are precise and inspiring with your written word. But I don't know if you noticed, and I'm sure you have because you're hyper observant, but everybody that reads your work reposts it and is touched by it. They have that moment where they're just like, there's nothing to add to what Hillary has said. There's no way to reword this. There's no additions. There's no subtractions. I'm going to put it in its true form and just say what she said. Have you noticed that? Everybody in the whole community, like what she said.
You know what? I thank you. I love that. But you know what I would like to say? It's very sweet of you to say that. But, there's sort of the truth that people who look in, and then maybe this is an opportunity for me to say this, that like some of the people I've reached out to do spotlights on, they've said, wow, so cool. Thanks for thinking of me. What's a spotlight? So it's interesting how many people really don't like. I think it's a real struggle that we have, how to, continue to get engagement. I do the ad everybody, which everybody knows it's annoying. Yeah. So that's more what I'm like. I appreciate that. And, I will always be willing to receive kind words. But the truth is, like, I think it is important for people to see stories, and like, some things are happening in the Discord right now. And, there was some giveaways on a Take to the Banks the other day. And, those new collectors are blown away. Yeah. And I think so, like they're like in for life, right? Sure. But what about the other hundreds who weren't that lucky or didn't know about the Discord or didn't have a friend who knew somebody? So I really would like to find a way to reach out to these people and say, come learn about others and like see how unknowledgeable so many of them they are about like all the details that intimidate me. Yeah. And that they just love beautiful art and like to make friends.
Well, it's funny, in the next couple of weeks, I'm starting to have some newer collectors on the channel. I've obviously focused on a lot of the people with some robust collections, and And as I've started talking with others and filling out the schedule, people are like, Kurt, my collection, it's a similar reaction to you. My collection is like, no, right? I want to talk to everyone, newcomers and others. Back to your collection for a second, because I just want to make sure we cover all of it. Is there anything you're chasing? Because you're moved by things. So I assume when you see a piece, you either connect with it or don't, because that's the type of person you seem to be. So have you seen something? And I know you may not know the vast portfolio or all the variations, but is there something out there that you're like, I think I need to get my hands on that piece?
Well, so I'm a music lover. So like music really is my life. And it's the sound, obviously it's everyone's soundtrack, but like some have it on sometimes. Like I actually, right before we connected, I was like, I wonder if I could have the music on in the background. I actually had that thought, probably
what
not.
Music would you be playing right now? What would be your soundtrack?
I was listening to Bruce Hornsby when I dialed into you, but so I love that. I love Jackson Browne, Bonnie Raitt, Bruce Hornsby, but where I learned about music was Zeppelin, Sabbath, Floyd, Doors. Okay. So that's my true love. And so although this is not a piece I'm chasing because it doesn't yet exist, I have been asking for a Mount Rushmore of Zeppelin. Ooh. Or Floyd or Sabbath or the Doors or, so there's a lot to choose from. But I love Star Wars. I never collected anything ever. Maybe wine. But not maybe wine. Definitely wine. So I have, when people say, look at me, I'm a great collector. I have every comic book and I have every little piece and I have all the action figures and I have this and that. I'm like, I don't know. I've seen the movie 12 times. Does that count? Yeah. So oftentimes like pieces like Star Wars, I sort of even look at myself and go, well, those people, I don't know if they're more deserving would be the word I use, but they're, that would enhance their collection considerably, where a lot of mine would be a one-off. So I have been thinking a lot about my lane, and music is an easy lane, but like Tupac and like some of those, like I don't exactly know that. I don't know that music well at all. So that might not be my pieces. Prince, I love.
I would have loved to have heard you said my soundtrack today would have been Tupac. There's a couple answers I haven't expected today. That would have thrown me, Hillary. My wife says she wrote up on the board. It must have been 6 months ago. Our family values. Now, this wasn't discussed ahead of time. She just wrote down, I guess, what she thought would be fun. Now, the girls every day after dinner, they're like, we want dessert. And sometimes that's a yay. Sometimes it's a nay, depending on who the wife is in. But she wrote on there like dessert after dinner every day. I don't know, right? And that's one of the family values. It was a hilarious list. But on there, she said, we collect experiences, not things. Okay? And when you talk, Hillary, about your collection, it's what I think of when I think of you. I feel like you're experience driven, and then your pieces are to memorialize the experience. It's not that you're collecting things. It doesn't surprise me that you never collected anything other than wine, which I could have told you from your background. But you are experience. I think you're experience driven. This is the profile in Murray. I think you're experience driven, and you get pieces to memorialize those experiences. Is that true?
I know. I love it. I hadn't thought of it like that. But look at you stepping up in the word game.
I mean, my one sentence in this hour that will impress you, Hillary.
Well, thank you. No, I think that's true. And I love that way of looking at it. It almost frees me. Really, I do feel freed by that because, sometimes pieces come in and they're beautiful and I'm not certain that they're exactly what I want, but I'm like, I like beauty. I like beauty. Submit. But it's obviously not in my best interest for a million reasons.
Sure.
But I like the idea of, thinking of the experience that would either remind me of, or even invoke.
Absolutely.
That's cool too.
That is very cool. So what piece is most valuable to you?
Well, I do want to tell you just real quick that I have a, we have that black, do you see the black board? It's an in our home piece. Okay. So it's like in our home. Is it okay if I read it?
Yeah, please.
We do our best. We do hugs and kisses. We do funny. We do communication. We do I'm sorries. We do loud really well. We do kindness. We do real. We play hard. We do second chances. We do love. I love it.
I love it.
Me too.
I love it. I should go get my list. You're going to be unimpressed when I say we do dessert after dinner.
No, we do dessert. Should be on there.
We do dessert.
Well, and dessert for me, like, is like cheese and wine. We do savory dessert, is what we would have to. So pieces. Well, I have two other stories. Like I'm like a parent. I don't really have a favorite, but I have two other stories. I only bought 2 pieces on the secondary.
Okay.
And they were my Dune pieces. So I have a black label and a white label. Views from Arrakis, which gives me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
I'm a big sci-fi fantasy girl. Like I love Lord of the Rings. Like I said, I love Star Wars, Game of Thrones. We used to, new season came out. We would start from the first season and watch before we watched every season. Seen that show a few times. I actually flicked it on the other day and I was just like, you know what? It's so gory.
It's so gory. It's hard to make it through. It's a great show, though.
Right. And Joffrey still scares me, even having seen him be evil so many times.
I don't know if I could run the whole series back. I don't think there's any chance.
Yeah.
Nope. Couldn't do it. It's gross.
Funny. Right. Exactly. And it's frightening.
It is frightening.
So, but then, I have joined forces, which, so I was writing a list, when we were going to talk to kind of see when I got all my pieces in my mind. I wasn't like looking up emails, but it was so funny because joined forces, I was like, I just can't remember where I got it. So I was done and I was like, just living my life. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, joined forces. I got it on 420. So that was great. Well, you started something, but I think we got sidetracked. But you said that I was kind, and I don't mean to bring that up, but I did want to share that a lot of that is because, and maybe I share this because others have this experience, or I don't know. But I had a great home life, lots of love. My parents are together 60 years. I'm close with both my brother and my sister. We had a bigger family that came for holidays, etc. But I never had a group. So I just never had a group of friends. And I felt it. I felt lonely. And I tried to fit in. And what I realize now, as an adult, is I tried to fit in the wrong groups. I think I would have been welcomed. I just was, and I was 7 or whatever one was,
Yeah.
And yeah. So I've been the recipient of unkind words. And so it's something I'm conscious of, like to say I succeed is absolutely not true. And, I kind of think I'm funny, and sometimes funny is not always so nice. And, but it's something that I wake up every day and, I think get your steps in and be kind.
It's evident in what you do, Hillary. Like I said, I could have picked you out of a lineup because I've seen a picture of you, but I don't know you from anyone. We're literally 58 minutes into knowing each other. And I know beyond a reasonable doubt that you're a kind, genuine, loving person focused on community and human society and everyone getting along and the betterment of the world. It's apparent in what you do. And there's not many people in the world, genuinely, that I can say that of just overtly in 58 minutes or even from afar. So whatever you're doing and whatever molded you into what you've become, it's a path that I would recommend others take, minus the hateful words that they've received to their face.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure this is your experience too. All the nights you didn't sleep because you were stressed on whatever, whether that was in school or outside of school, and all the things that you thought were so big. And, I tell my nephews this all the time. Like, for my life, I can't remember one of them. Yeah. So how big could they have been? So even those unkind words, I certainly didn't, I wish they didn't happen, but I couldn't tell you what they were.
Sure.
So they're not I don't go to bed thinking, Susie, when I was 11, she said that really mean thing to me. None of that. What I think is, I know that hurt, and I will try to not be the giver of that.
But one can't believe that those tiny pebbles that were being thrown at you didn't form the foundation for your love of community.
Oh, no, I 100%
Right?
agree. Right. So isn't that the beauty of that? Like, that really not so great thing turned itself into this thing
Absolutely.
that gives me so much joy.
It's incredible. Incredible. All right, you have how many more pieces behind you?
Okay, well,
The
I have
person
two
with
more.
no pieces has a
I never said
never-ending
no.
set of pieces to talk about.
So just a couple more. One is my Invincible
Mm.
that I won
Oh,
in Air
yeah.
Jordan's
Yes, you did.
raffle. Yes. And you know, I'm going to at the end ask you to let me shout out to a couple people, but Air Jordan is he's a local and his heart is just so awesome, and like his joy that I won this was so authentic and so enthusiastic. And this piece, it was early on in my collecting career, and the studio sent me a text saying you got this piece, but I didn't really know what that meant, like, because I never gotten a text from them before.
Yeah.
And I kind of just thought it meant submit for this piece.
Okay.
So I just ignored it. I can't remember if I had already submitted or not, but I was like, whatever I was doing, I'd already done. Then, like, a couple days later, I went back and I'm like, I could have sworn I saw a password in that. So I go and reread it, and it's totally we want you to have this piece or whatever. And so of course the one that got away, regardless of like how much I know about X-Men or
Sure.
which I know a little.
Yeah.
But so it always was that piece that got away. So the fact that Jordan and Jerry, a call to arms, he was the one who donated it. So I'm extremely grateful.
Here's the thing
But
about that, Hillary. I watched those Air Jordan daily giveaways for that
yep,
month. It was, I think, August, if I'm not mistaken, right?
it was.
And I was excited to watch this unfold. And when it came time for the PiggyBanx piece, and I saw you, I thought in that moment, I hope that was rigged. I hope it was rigged. Like, I'm so happy that Hillary got that piece. And again, I don't know you from anyone, Hillary. And I was like, I hope it's rigged. I hope, or if it's not, like whoever created the world in 7 days, to your point, somebody made that happen, and it's fantastic. Or it just happened by random. I don't care how it happened. I'm happy it happened.
I got a lot of people reaching out saying I'm really happy for you. And A, I think that's the community, and B, I think they really were happy for me. It's exponential, that type of thing, right? Like, so to some of the questions of why are you so involved, like it feeds on itself,
Yeah, it
right?
does.
You do something nice, you get a little bit of love. You do something nice, you get a little bit of love. All of a sudden,
All of
you
a
live in a
sudden,
commune.
you're writing spotlights on people, and they don't know what a
That's right.
spotlight is.
So my last, right. So the final piece is Mind Your Business.
Yes.
And Creme de la Piggy was one of the local collectors, and a few of us get together every once in a while at detention. So I'm not sure what we'll do when they close, and we share some art. And so some people do openings, some people do, but I'm a little bit opening shy. Like, I love my piece, and of course this group of guys would never be anything but enthusiastic for me.
Yeah.
But like, I love all the variants. I just really do, and especially because it's mine. And not to say like I don't want a PMG, because I do.
We all want a PMG.
That's right. So I don't really want to. A reason I don't open it at the dinner or really in front of everybody is just because I feel a little bit like, what if the enthusiasm level isn't so high? Then I'll, have my feelings hurt. And they'd all be great though. But anyway, so I got hush money.
Mm-hmm.
I was awarded it by the studio, or maybe it was equal. So Krem right away, he says, I love that piece. I love that piece. If anyone gets it, please trade. So I got it, and I wrote him, and I said, I have it. And he said, oh, are you willing to trade? And I was like, no, like, I don't know. Back off.
I have it, but no.
Right. But then, of course, a moment later, I was like, oh, I guess that is why I reached out to you. So I brought it that night, and he was like, I love it. I'm so happy. But I said, hey, can I can I just have it for a little bit? Like, I promise you that when I get rid of it, it's yours. Or when I'm ready to let go of it, it's yours. I just don't think I am yet. And of course, because he's awesome, and he said yes. And so I've had it since July. And the other night we all got together and I brought it, and, my plan really was just to give it to him because I don't really know what I want, and I don't know, and I have total confidence that, he wasn't leaving the country because of my hush money. But he brought a few pieces to trade, and one of them was Mind Ya. And I love Nanya and I love Mind Ya, but again, the art and the whole piece, but also the play on the words. And, Einstein, I'm a fan.
Sure.
And Tesla, I'm a fan of his too.
Okay.
Not necessarily the new Tesla world, but even that technology is all amazing.
Yeah.
So it was just there, and I don't know that we'd made any decision, but I was like, you definitely take this and I will ponder. But I just spent a lot of the evening kind of going over, hanging out with it, looking at it, took it to the table next to me, and I just felt it. So and the same way I feel that pieces that come to me from the studio should be honored, and maybe for me there is a time to trade or sell, or I don't know. But I really felt this was like an adoption. This is now family.
Yeah.
And I really fallen in love with it. And actually, I'd love the set. I think that would be really cool. So if I have a little bit of chase, it's that set.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. You should have got a PMG from him.
You mean, well, for what piece?
Any piece.
Oh, well, the day's young, friend. The day's young. And that's just it. It's that whole lifetime and, one breath. 10 months or 10 years or one day. I'm not going anywhere, which really maybe for newer collectors, there is no urgency. I think there's if you're doing it for the money, I suppose, maybe, but I really don't. I think there's this sort of you shouldn't want to make money. And I personally don't feel that way. Money's this weirdly important thing in this, Western society we live in, and every society, I guess. But I do think if you're buying it just to trade it or just to sell it, you're probably not going to have a lot of luck because you're not going to get so many hits and people aren't going to really want to trade with you.
It'll be short-lived for sure.
That's right. And I don't know if I had a real point there.
You can do that once or twice. Well, I had a question whether this was a passion or an investment for you. And I didn't even want to ask you, actually, Hillary, because it's the silliest question I ask someone like you. So I'm not going to ask it. How about that?
Perfect. And I think I did answer it.
You did.
I certainly am not I hope all these pieces have zero value in the future.
Yeah, of course. We all want our money to go not into a pit.
That's right. But I have I couldn't even fathom selling one of them, let alone the collection. But I have a total understanding. One of the things I said right after Tom died, maybe the day, I was I know nothing about nothing. And actually, I said it with a couple of F-bombs. So maybe I don't know anything about anything, it's very liberating, that knowledge. If you're not responsible for knowing everything and solving everything and fixing everything, you get to live a little more gently. And there was, some hard years, and I'm a big fan. Even if there wasn't, though, I want everyone to live gently.
Yeah, I agree. Now, you are the community queen. I only think I have one more question for you, and we can talk more if you want, of course, but you're the community queen. I'm giving you the crown. That's what it is. Liz Collects is the lady of the realm. You're the community queen. It's just the way it's going to be.
Hi, Liz.
So what is the difference, community queen, that you see in the community from a year ago to now? Because I'm a fairly newbie, Hillary, and I see massive change in the last 6 months. I think about when I started. What do you see?
Well, I do want to say, when you say community queen, I see community with a Q.
Absolutely.
Like community queen.
That's right. My little alliteration that's not real alliteration. Yes.
I like it. Well, I guess the obvious thing is I'm in it.
You're in.
That's teasing.
That's
Sorry.
period.
That's the difference.
Done.
No, of course. And I think that other people maybe on your show, do you call this a show?
Sure. Sure.
On your show have spoken of similar things, maybe without the direct question. But obviously, it's the diversity of the community. It's grown so much, and I wish that I could meet, even if it's just through a Discord or an Instagram, more of them. But like the growing age range, I'm loving to see
Yeah.
the geographical range. I'm loving the political range. Sometimes a piece comes out and people have some words and other people have other words.
Yeah.
Even like, maybe this has changed a little bit. Like, I think perhaps some of the OGs, and truthfully, I'm not even exactly sure, like the OGs versus the like, older than me G's.
Right.
But like, I think there was a lot of protection of the community. And my feeling is that now they're like, oh, they're more opened up a little bit. And whether they're actively embracing everybody, they're like seeing that there's a whole lot of good people doing this.
Sure.
So it's obviously diversity. Diversity will win every single time, even if there's growing pains through it.
Yeah. What do you want to see more of out of the community, if anything?
Sure. I mean, I'd like to see more regional groups get together and have dinners and whatever, coffee, whatever they want. I love the installation. Like if there's a way that people could get to see that, whether that's at the studio or at events. And I appreciate that. The studio can't go to every time there's 8 people getting together. Like that's too small. But maybe as the community grows and there's larger groups, that would be something. So definitely the meeting of people.
I love that one, Hillary. I feel like I'm on an island here outside of the DC metro area, right?
You're not. So maybe we could talk afterwards, but definitely you're not. It doesn't mean that you're 20 minutes, but
Sure.
It might be worth an hour once every 6 months, or you have to decide. Like, time is another precious commodity.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Yeah, tell Brad to come on out. Say Cody, Brad. Kurt wants to see you in DC. It's the nation's capital. There's lots to do out here, right? They can go sightseeing.
It's one of my favorite places to visit. Oh yeah, and I've had such good food. There's this Ethiopian restaurant there that's phenomenal. Or was last time I was there. I've heard lots of reggae. I love DC. It's one of my favorite towns.
See, this is what I mean, Hillary. You say these things, you sprinkle these little things throughout the interview, and I can't see them coming.
I have this. They're not on my fridge anymore, but I had these 2, I don't know what you'd call them. Oh, magnets is what you call them. And one of them said, kindness is free, sprinkle that shit everywhere. And the other one said, I love a music festival.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today, Hillary?
So first of all, I apologize in advance to everyone who I miss, because truthfully, everyone's great. Obviously, I mentioned a lot of people, like my fellow moderators, but and one lucky piggy, of course. But my little community of local collectors, which is Cheese Stands Alone, Creme de la Piggy, Air Jordan, Dave, F1 Piggy, Take It to the Banks, and Alan. I think both Dave and Alan just have their names as their collector names. Have just been like a regular. We just like once or 10 times in one day, and then not for 3 days. We just sort of like throw either a PiggyBanx comment to each other or just a food comment, or it's just nice to have this little group, and they're also very kind to me. And in my early days, it's so funny. I feel like I'm doing an acceptance speech. I'd like to thank, but I especially Sir Sam and Storm Shadow. They, like, in my first few months, that they both just wrote to me all the time. Like, sometimes just they were like, "How are you?" And I was like, I just felt like safe. I'm like, oh, that's nice. That like,
they're great.
Maybe I have a question, or maybe I just want that virtual hug.
Yeah.
So I'm super appreciative of many, 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 and of you for doing this. And like, Liz created a women's PiggyBanx group. Like, so many people have done really amazing things. Even if like that little PiggyBanx Instagram group for women, we're not really active. But maybe I mentioned this word, but I've really come to believe that things are seasons, and that is the most lovely thing, right? That's it. Like, sometimes your season is a lifetime, but usually it's not. And it's a moment, and those moments can be beautiful if you aren't looking for more than that season.
You know, Hillary, it's funny because I don't take a lot of notes. I hold a pen, but I'm not a natural note taker. And in fact, through the interviews to date, I think I'm on episode, you'll be 41-ish. I think I've written down 4 words across all of them. The word I wrote down today, so you're my 5th word in 41. I wrote down seasons. And it's the one word from the whole conversation. And again, I have it recorded. I can listen back to your eloquent brilliance all day long. But the one word I wrote down was seasons. And it reminded me, I had an interview for a position, a very important position in my organization. And the interview was a couple months ago with a hyper talented individual. And the person said to me, it's the wrong season of life. And we were friends outside of the interview. I knew of the person before that. And there's just a lot going on in the world, and the age of children or health or XYZ. And so when you say certain words, right, we all have our things, our triggers or pieces of words that resonate differently with us. The seasons hit me because your story is so powerful. And obviously the season that maybe you escaped recently or are still in, and what season's coming next, right? Your seasons of life. I am thrilled to be in this season with you, is where I'm going with that, Hillary. I'm happy to have met you in this moment, in this season of your life. I am touched and moved by your story. I have a tremendous amount of empathy and can relate, although I can't relate because all of our circumstances are different, right?
Same.
But true empathy, and I have to ask the obvious question: what happens after Detention 2.0 closes? Because that's an important season of life for you. That's going to be the doors are literally going to shut.
I'm sure that One Lucky Piggy will be happy to hear this, but like, I'm excited. Like, it was the best, and I would be perfectly content if it never went away. But I don't mind a little push in another direction, like that, all good. And if I'm honest, there's other restaurants here where I know chefs where I could build a restaurant, but build a family, a place to go to. But really, that is how I feel. Like, I've sort of learned that it's lovely when seasons end. I mean, like, Mother Nature was the OG of seasons.
That's right.
Like, you got to respect that. So I'm super excited for Jason. I feel like I trust the season. So even if it's not like immediately I find a new version of myself or a new story, it will happen. The restaurant next door, the chef and the som who managed it and cooked there, etc. After Jason, they were dear friends of mine, and they moved back east after 4 years. And a lot of people were writing me. A lot of people wrote me when detention was closing and were like, "How are you doing? How are you going to be?" And I just felt excited. That's really was I recognized the sadness. Like, it's too bad, but maybe when you have giant losses, smaller losses don't seem as big, but I don't even think it's it. Maybe even with my giant loss, I'm excited for a new season. So of course I am with the smaller loss.
Your positivity, I'm overusing this word, is inspiring, Hillary, and you are brilliant in every way. Well, thank you so much for your time, Hillary. We'll talk again soon.
Good. I look forward to it.
Until next time, stay sharp, chase smart.